Hello, good morning, Enara.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. So, we're here together to have an energy talk, and we will talk about different topics. I will give the introduction just in a bit, but I thought, to keep the energy high, we're here together. It's digital. I thought let's start with just sharing a few tiny stories. So, if I would mention to you, Enara, plants. What would you say to that?
I think that is something that's, I don't know, it gives me like a lot of joy. It reminds me of my childhood, like being surrounded by plants, by trees, and like just playing like outside, but also like now where I live, like in my house and everything, like I have like an urban garden where I grow my own like plants and fruits and everything. And it's just like, I don't know, it's like freedom and sort of like mindfulness for me, like plants, like taking care of the plants and the trees and growing like my own vegetables and everything.
Yes, I fully recognize
Yeah,
that because like my house is full with plants as well. And then once in a while, I see that they need more, or I need to exchange the soil, or I have to put them in other pots so they can grow more. Then I'm like, oh, this is so zen, just to be
exactly.
working with your hands and to see what they need. But also when I feel a bit stressed out, and I'm sitting on the couch, I like to watch some plants in front of me, and then yeah, it's such an amazing feeling to be
Yeah,
connected, with the greenness and the power of plants. Yes,
I fully agree with that. It gives you like a lot of peace.
yes, yeah, fantastic. Well, we're here to talk about different subjects, right? We are here to talk about mental health, about changing careers, and about your own company, Roots and Cook, because
Yeah,
nowadays you're fully into growing your own foods, but also developing recipes and yeah, having workshops, offering workshops to people to enjoy cooking together and eating together. So that's what you do right now. But let us start with who you are. Can you tell us a little bit who you are, where you're from?
yeah. So I grew up in the Basque country, which is basically like north part of Spain, really close to the Pyrenees. And I grew up there in a really, really tiny village, middle of nowhere. Like in a house, there is like middle of nowhere in the mountains, surrounded by a lot of plants, a lot of trees, animals, and yeah, basically like I grew up basically there in the middle of nowhere. But I always wanted to explore what was out there, and I wanted to know that I don't know what was out there, but not just like in my own country, but also like outside.
You
So
wanted to cross the mountains.
yeah, exactly. I don't know. It was like also like the Basque culture is like quite closed minded, and I don't know. I wanted to explore like what is out there, like other cultures, other things, other people, other like I don't know, different like conversations and everything. So I went to the university in the Basque country. So I studied industrial design engineering, but I did like 3 years in Spain and then 1 year in Sweden.
Mm.
And that was like first time moving to a different country and exploring and meeting other people from different cultures, different backgrounds, and everything. And I loved it. I really, really liked it. So I finished my studies, then I did a business marketing master in the south of Spain, which is also like really different to north. And then after that, I moved to Ireland to do like a course. And then 9 years ago, I moved to the Netherlands for the first time for some internships.
But that's
And then
amazing.
basically,
Like Enara, you come from the Basque country, and as you mentioned, that's quite a closed culture. And then you
it
open
is.
yourself up to so many cultures. So what I'm wondering is, did you experience any kind of culture shock, like between how you grew up and yeah, seeing all these different aspects of other cultures, or were you like, no, give me more, like this is what
I
interests me?
think,
And
no, yeah. I think actually like the other way around, because I had always had a feeling like I never felt like in the Basque country. Like I was like I don't know how to explain it, but it was like, this is not where I belong. I always had that feeling. So then when I started like going to different places and meeting other people, it was like, wow, this is actually sort of where I belong.
Oh,
So
this
it's
is
actually the other way
beautiful.
around. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, fantastic. Well, then, okay, let me think. You went to Ireland, and then
Yeah.
afterwards, 9 years ago, you moved to the
Yeah.
Netherlands.
Yeah. So I moved here for some internships, and at the beginning it was just for a few months, but a few months, it was actually 9 years. So I did some internships, and then I started working here. I started working for a supply chain. I was working corporate. I did that quite a few years. Also, I met my husband here, and then we are still here living in the Netherlands. But then, long story short, basically, I was working corporate for quite a few years, and then a lot of things happened that we can talk about it later on.
Mm-hmm.
And 4 years ago, I decided to quit my corporate career and to do something completely different. And that's like the moment where I started like working and developing my cooking project, which is
Mm-hmm.
now Roots and Cook, where I'm developing like recipes and testing new recipes all the time. And recently, a few months ago, I also started doing something local, something in person, with the cooking workshops here in The Hague.
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's a huge change, right? Because
Yeah.
you were, yeah, you studied engineering and you've worked corporate for many years. So, what happened that you transitioned to being your own boss?
Yeah. So basically, a lot of things happened. So as I mentioned, like 4 years ago, I lost someone in my family. I had someone really, really sick and with an illness in my family. And then also like things at work were like quite crazy. There was a lot of like stress and like too many things going on at work that I crashed myself. So I had a burnout. So
Mm.
basically, like we have like different pillars that are holding us basically, and then the family pillar, not good.
Mhm.
The work pillar, not good. So basically, I crashed myself as well. So I had a burnout,
Mhm.
and I had to recover from that. And in that journey, I decided to make some changes in my life.
Yes, I understand. So, how did you recognize that you were crashing? Because
That I
I
was
can,
having a burnout.
yeah, that you went into a burnout. Because I can imagine for some time you were working, with your colleagues and your
Mhm.
manager, and maybe it goes well, and then suddenly things happen, and then stress arises, and then parallel to that, a family member, you lost a family member, and then these things happen. Did these things happen like all at once,
Yeah,
or
literally,
literally all at once?
literally all at once.
Okay, so
Yeah.
when did you recognize that you were heading towards a burnout?
So as I said, like literally everything happened within 2 to 3 weeks. Literally everything. So that's why it's like for me, it was like really a lot of bad things happened at the same time, literally. Because if something like just one thing happens, maybe you can cope with it, maybe not.
Yes.
It's also fine to cry just with one thing, but it was
Hmm.
like too many things, way too many things. So it was like losing like a family member while the other one was sick, and that was literally happening like at the same time. Things at work got crazy, really, really, really crazy. A lot of stress. Also within the same time, within the same couple of weeks. And then I remember like I started like working from home for a few days because I really needed to. It was like so busy at work that I couldn't really work at the office. So I was like, I'm just gonna try to work from home, which I thought it was gonna be more quiet and no one was gonna call me, so I could really finish things because I was not
Hmm.
even able to finish things at work. It was so busy. So I remember it was a Wednesday and I was working from home and I opened the laptop, and basically everything that I was doing those like last few days, it was just like they were just like coping with issues. Everything was related with big problems, and it was just like coping with issues instead of like finishing jobs. So instead of
Hmm.
doing like tick 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 and finishing tasks, the only thing that I was doing, it was like, oh, there was like a new fire popping up, and then it was like you have to like work in that, and there's like another issue. So it was like everything that I was doing, it was just working with issues that they were popping like that.
Yes.
And I
So,
remember that I
you know,
opened.
as you mentioned, these things all happened within 2 to 3 weeks,
Literally,
and
yeah.
I think that's interesting. You know, because I speak to many people from my practice as a coach and rebirther, and they come to me to recover from burnout, and based on their stories, it seems like they were heading to that burnout for some time, you know, maybe half a year, some 1 year or 2 years, and they just ignored their physical, mental, and emotional
Mm.
symptoms. And then, you know, they change maybe some aspects of their life to just continue living. And then suddenly something indeed happened in their life that broke them down, that they couldn't continue in that cycle anymore. But in your case, it was all within 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah, I
That
mean, stress at work was happening for a while,
oh,
but the big chunk of stress, it was also happening within those last few
same
weeks.
weeks.
So it
Yeah.
got even crazier, basically,
Mhm. Yes.
everything. And for me, it was, I started like, I opened the laptop that Wednesday morning, and then I saw like emails of issues, new issues arising, and I started shaking. So it was like,
Shaking.
I started having like physical symptoms.
Mm.
So it was like, because I was not stopping. So my body and your mind is saying, okay, now you're gonna stop. So I started like shaking, and like it was really bad. It was like I started like crying and I couldn't stop. And I don't know. I was like really, I got really scared. I thought I would
Mhm.
have to go to the hospital or something, because it was like I couldn't stop. Like it was like shaking and feeling really bad, and I don't know. It was like a lot of like physical symptoms.
Yes. And did you think that that was something physical, or did you have a feeling that it was related to
I had
all these
already like
stress?
some signals a few days before, like maybe like a week before, something that I was like, I was working and I was going back home, because I was not really like working like overtime or anything. So I was working for 8.5 hours, but I was like working like full, giving like 120% all for 8 hours. And even if I was leaving like on time and I was going back home, I remember like one day that I was just like, I arrived home and I had to crash on a couch and I couldn't move. And I
Mm.
never ever did that in my life. I would be like either doing sport or did like cooking dinner or have like a little walk or something. And I couldn't do anything. I literally crashed like on the couch and I couldn't move.
Mm.
And I didn't have energy. So I had that for a few days. And I remember that I was talking about it at work and everything, that I was not feeling well. But then, yeah, not, I didn't change, and nothing I changed at work changed. Actually, it got even worse. And
Yes.
then it was like, if you're not gonna stop with these signals, we're gonna give you like, my body's, I think it was like, if you don't stop with these signals, we're gonna give you like big ones. So you are gonna stop now. And then when it started like shaking and physical like
And but that
symptoms, it was
was
like,
that
you have to
something that,
stop.
yeah, was that something that you said to yourself, like, okay, now you have to stop, now you have to go on a sick
I
leave?
had to stop. I had to stop because I couldn't do anything. I mean, when your body is like shaking, I thought I had to go to the hospital.
Mm. Oh,
It was really not okay. It
no,
was
that's
really not
horrible.
okay. And then it was like really funny, because I remember, but at that same time I was going to the doctor, because I was having like, I was like losing a lot of hair. I was having like issues with my period. So I was having like other like symptoms in my body, but I was not connecting that to all the stress and everything that was happening in my life.
Oh,
And I
right. So
remember,
if I
yeah.
understand you correctly, sorry to interrupt you, but if I understand you correctly, these stressing signals from your body happened before the crash,
Yeah, exactly,
right?
exactly, exactly. So the real like physical symptoms that I said like, now I have to stop. That was like really like, yeah, that was like really the moment when I stopped. But it was like a few weeks before I was having some symptoms in my body, but I was not connecting that with
Yeah.
stress or anything that was happening in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I had an appointment with my GP to follow up for all those symptoms that I was having. And I remember that I went there that same week and I told her like, this happened on Wednesday. I was like, I started working and I couldn't work or anything because all this happened. And she was like, okay, now I understand like everything that was going on in your life, because you are like, you have to stop. I mean, you have a
Yes.
burnout. Yeah, going through so much. You're grieving. You couldn't even start like almost grieving. Someone is really ill in your family, and then everything at work. It was like everything. It was too much.
Yes.
So it was like, of
Yes.
course you're having physical symptoms because you have like your stress levels are like crazy, and they're
Mm-hmm.
not going down. And if you
Mm-hmm.
don't stop, they will never go down. And that's
That's
why you
right.
have like physical symptoms. And she explained me like everything that goes in your body and with the stress levels and the hormones and everything. So I
I
could
know.
understand what was going on in my
Yes.
body.
Yeah.
And
Well, I'm so glad that you are so open to share this with us, because I think it will be so beneficial if more people, not only women but women and men, just stop in an earlier phase,
yeah,
with everything that they are doing, just recognizing the physical symptoms, and give themselves more space to
yeah,
discover where it comes from, and to give themselves the opportunity to change, some certain aspects in their life, because yeah, otherwise it will get worse and worse and worse up until the crash, of course.
yeah.
So
Up
okay,
until you can't do anything else,
yeah, I
literally.
know, literally. So from that moment, you had to crawl up again,
Yeah.
right? And you had to find help. So who did you find to get you back on track?
Yeah. So at that moment, I really like stopped, and like it was like it takes a while also to really like full stop and understand like what is going on and what do you need to do and everything. So it doesn't happen like the next day. It takes also a while.
Hmm.
But after a few weeks, I started like looking for, because it was like everything was like related with work as well. So at work, they were really helping me as well. So you get also like support from work, and they helped me to find
Oh,
a
fantastic.
psychologist. And there's also like a person at work that is helping you through all the to figure out like all the process and everything. So
Hmm.
I started going to a psychologist for like work related things, which he was not the right fit for me, first one at least. So I
How
had to
did you
change.
know? How did
Yeah.
you know that she wasn't the right fit? What did
Oh,
you see?
that was also pretty quick, because it was really weird, because it was, for me, it was like first time going to a psychologist. So I had no idea what to expect. Uh, but it's just like sort of like a film that when she started like talking and everything, I remember already from the first session that she started like talking like how we were gonna build like the whole process to go back to work and to go back to my position and everything. And I had a feeling like she was really like sort of like pushing from the beginning, and I was like, oh, how come that we are not talking about the recovery process
Yes.
and about like what happens and how we are going to build like new tools so it doesn't
Hmm.
happen again.
Hmm.
So it was like, oof, no, it was like
Red
red
flags,
flag,
red
leave,
flags of
leave.
everywhere.
Yeah. So I had to change that one, and then I went to a different one, and she was lovely. She was
Mm.
really like giving me like the freedom and space to recover and take
Hmm.
decisions, and it was really nice, really
Hmm.
really nice, that person.
And that person was also a psychologist?
Yeah,
Yes.
it
Oh,
was a
fantastic.
completely different one with a different approach and everything,
Hmm.
and it was really really nice, that one.
Hmm.
She
Yeah.
really helped me a lot.
Oh, fantastic. And then what I remember from our first energy talk on Instagram Live is that you were ready at some point to ask guidance from someone else, from a coach or someone who
Yeah,
helps you to
yeah,
find a
yeah,
new purpose in life.
exactly, exactly. So I went to the first, I did like the get like mentally healthy again, because
Yes.
mental health was really bad. So first I got that fixed basically, or I started that journey basically, because I think it's like
Oh,
once
you
you
got
start,
stronger. You got
yeah, I got
stronger.
stronger like mentally, and I started that mental health journey, because I think it's like that is something that I was not really paying attention to. And
Mm-hmm.
now it's something that I'm really like, I don't know, it's something that I'm super aware of. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like a journey I think that it will never end. It started like 4 years ago, and it's something that it will never end. So
Mm-hmm.
I went to psychologist, and we worked on the work related things. And I took some decisions about like careers and everything. I went to a different one for the family grieving and everything, because as I mentioned, like a lot of things happen at once. I
Mm-hmm.
did that, and then the next day was like, okay, what am I gonna do with my life? Because I decided in that journey to quit my job, like my corporate job, and to
Mm-hmm.
do something else. But I was not sure
Mm-hmm.
what to do.
Yes.
So I decided to go to a coach, And she helped me as well to build and to discover what was my passion, but also what I wanted to do, because it could be also like I just wanted to go back to corporate, but maybe something different.
Mm-hmm.
So we started like exploring a little bit like those options, and she really helped me also to figure out what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and could you tell us a bit more about that moment in which you discovered what it was that excited you in
Yeah,
life?
it's not something that happens like right away.
Oh.
It's something like you start like working, because she was like doing like different exercises and everything, like to discover like where is like your passion, like what are you passionate about, and what kind of things you truly like. And for me, that was always like cooking. That's something
Mm-hmm.
that I have like since I was like a kid. I remember like stories of helping my parents when, like at the kitchen when we were kids and everything. And for me, it was like something related with food. So at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, but you can do thousands of different things related with food. So I remember that we called that the cook project.
Ah.
And then I started like building from there. And then I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, maybe I can start like maybe sharing like recipes. And then I
Mm-hmm.
built a website, which I still have, where I'm like sharing like recipes. But then you also have to think like, what kind of recipes, like how is, like who is your niche or your target audience, and what kind of recipes or food are you going to share and everything. So it's something that it keeps like, you have to build that little by little, because
Mm-hmm.
you're also like discovering like what is exactly what you like in that specific field.
Yes, of
That takes
course.
a while, but also it's
Yes.
something that is alive. So as I mentioned, like at the moment I'm giving like cooking workshops, and that is something new because the project is live and it's like growing with me actually. So
Mm-hmm.
then you have like, oh, maybe I'm gonna explore like this way or this one, and then you start also like side projects as well.
Yes. Yeah, and that's beautiful because like slowly you're just surfacing again,
Yes,
after the crash and after a deep recovery. And then what I see in your story is also that you started playing actually again. Because
definitely.
when people start asking you like what is your passion? Like people blank out immediately, like, okay, I don't know what I'm passionate about. But as you say, it's more like a process, and then
Exactly.
when suddenly something you mention strikes like more areas in your being, it's like, okay, let's start a project with that. And then
Exactly.
slowly it will give you the feedback that it's more joyous, or it inspires you to find more recipes or read cookbooks or whatever, then it starts growing. Like, okay,
Yeah.
and I'm thinking about something else now, because you mentioned that you had help from different people, like two
Yes.
psychologists, one coach. Um, what I get back a lot is that people are so afraid actually to ask for help. And then for someone like you who had gone through so many, difficult situations, and you had to deal with grief, you were at the same time still kind of, I don't know, flexible, or like, okay, no, but I want to continue, I want to move on with my life, and I need help with that. So did you, like, if you go back in time, did you have any trouble with asking help, or was that never a problem for you?
No, no. I think that was never a problem. No,
No.
no, because the situation, it was like, it was so big. The problem that I was having, or at the stage that I was, it was like too big. It was not something that I'm going through a maybe like a tough time in life, and then a friend or your husband or someone can help you. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like it's something that with a cup of coffee and chat with friend is gonna fix. It was a lot bigger than that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, it's not something that someone around me, and also because like you're having like thoughts, and like your mental state is like you feel like crazy. You cannot really like even explain with words how are you feeling. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like so foggy in your mind and everything. It's so difficult. So it's something new that you cannot
Mm-hmm.
even maybe talk or explain. So
Mm-hmm.
you need someone. You need someone that is going to make the right questions or the right exercises or everything that is going to help you to actually even like talk about it. It's like,
Yes.
it's really difficult because it's not something that you can even put words
Mm-hmm.
into, like the way you are feeling or everything. So if you cannot really explain like what are you like, what kind of thoughts or the way you are feeling to your partner or your
Mhm.
family,
Mhm.
you need really professional help
Yeah,
because
that's
they know
also,
how to extract that information.
I know. And that's actually also like a very wise insight that you're now sharing, that you need to ask for help from professionals
Yeah,
in this case, instead of family or friends, because they are there, of course, and they can support you in many ways,
but
but
never
they
help.
cannot, yeah, they cannot be there for the development that you need to
No.
go through to feel better
Yeah.
and to actually be a new person. I got that back recently from a client. She said, when I'm sharing stuff I think about in my head, but also in my heart with friends, they start giving me advice.
Yeah.
Uh, and of course, they mean it well
Yeah.
and they have a very good intention, but they start giving me advice.
Mm.
And I don't want that. I don't
Yeah.
want them to give me advice. I just want them to listen
Mm.
to
Or
me.
to give you a hug if needed, or a
Yeah,
tissue. That's it.
yes, a hug or a tissue,
Exactly.
but I don't want advice. And then she also mentioned that people also have the tendency to judge,
Yeah.
like, oh, so you're going through that, but come on,
It's
just forget it.
nothing.
It's
Yeah.
nothing. Yeah, they just minimize it, and then you're just left with left with a huge
Yeah.
feeling inside
Yeah.
that yeah, doesn't feel accepted,
No.
right?
No. I
Yes.
hate that. I hated it the most when there like people were saying around me, "Oh, but I have like this family member or I have a friend that went through the same. Oh, it's gonna be okay." Never, ever, ever say that to anyone.
No, no.
Really.
So
Especially with that, like when you have like someone ill in your family and everyone is like sharing some stories of like that they know someone that they went through that, and it's just don't share it because every person is different, so just don't share it.
that's right.
Shut up.
Yes, yes. Yeah, because it will also make it more difficult, for the person who is actually on the path of finding help,
Yeah.
and one, has the desire to have people around them to talk to, and then
Yeah.
you get these examples, and you get mixed up in your head, like, okay, but this is what I am going through. How
Exactly.
can that be exactly the same as you mentioned,
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
And you're in a really difficult moment because there are so many ideas in your mind that you don't even understand. That's why you're going to a professional to help you
Mhm.
understand like all your ideas and to feel everything and go through that. But at the beginning, it's just everything is super foggy. So to
That's
hear all
right.
those like advices and I went through this, it's not just leave me alone. Just
Hmm.
either you listen to me or you give me a hug, but never ever give advice. No,
Yes.
I hated that. Really
Hmm.
not. So
No.
that's why it's like for me, it's like that is the difference. It's like when you go to a professional, they are there to help you,
Hmm.
and then like your partner or family, they're doing that journey.
Hmm.
You're gonna have them to
Hmm.
support you, to listen. If you ever want to share something, like something that you are learning about yourself while you're going to therapy, so you can share that with them so they can understand a little bit of what you are going through. But they are just there to listen
Hmm.
and give you a hug if needed,
Hmm.
or just leave you alone as well sometimes. Whatever you need, but
Yes,
never
that's
ever to
right.
give you advice or anything. No.
Yes. Like, okay, I have another question, because you grew up in a social culture,
Yeah.
right? Like me, because I come from a Chinese family, it's a social culture.
Yeah.
And what I've witnessed in my family, when family members, well, I saw this as a child, when grown-ups needed help, family members or acquaintances would gather and they would have like a meeting, right? And yeah, like a meeting, like
Yeah.
with all together, and just talk about the problems, about the issues. And they were like practical, because they wanted to have practical solutions to the situation, because then people would feel better, right? That's what I
Okay.
saw as a kid. So therapy was never an option.
Ah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that relates to how the social culture is so intertwined with, okay, let's keep it close, let's keep it within the family, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of maybe shame on top of it, to like, okay, let's cover up all of these problems that we have, because otherwise we will lose face.
Especially like mental health, because it's not something physical. It's not a broken arm. It's not
No.
something you can see. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And do you recognize that? Is that also common in the Basque country, or maybe Spain
Maybe
like?
it is, but then maybe it is, but I think that is really something that is changing a lot.
Yes.
I think more and
Hmm.
more and more people are really talking about mental health. And I remember when I started like going to psychologist, I didn't know almost anyone going to therapy. But right now, at this moment, I know a lot of people going to therapy,
Mm.
and more people are really talking about it. At least
Yes.
like in your inner circle, like
Hmm.
there's like people talking about it, which is like amazing. But maybe not back then. But I think it is really changing. But
Yes.
to be honest, I never really cared because, as I said, like I moved out from the Basque country because I was feeling different, and I am really independent person, and I don't give a about anything. I just
Ooh,
do whatever I feel, whatever I want, and I don't care about what other people are gonna think.
that's
So it's just
you
like
sound very strong-willed, Enara.
it's like but I do that with everything. It's like I've always been like that since I was a kid. So I think that
Okay,
really
so
helps.
so
That
that's
really helps.
actually a core characteristic of
Yeah,
who you
exactly,
who
exactly.
you
But
are.
that's why it was easier for me. Okay, now I need help. I'm gonna get help, and like
Yes.
that with
Yes,
everything.
you're like that.
Even
Okay,
if I
so
was really scared, that doesn't take out like the scariness of it. Not at
no, no,
all.
no, no.
Not
No,
at all.
oh, but that's fantastic, because I know this quote that um, do it even though you're scared.
Oh yeah.
Yes, because
Oof,
then
yeah.
you will, grow and
Yeah.
transform and move on, and then see more opportunities arise at the horizon. But okay, getting back to like your identity and who you are, like in can you tell us a bit more about in what ways the recovery process um, has um, changed you as a person? Like who are you now as a person compared to the person 4 years ago?
Oof, a lot different. Really a lot different. I think I'm like more aware of about like my feelings, about my mental health, like a lot more. Like because I was like zero aware of it, and I'm like I don't know 50% of I don't know. Like it's something that you're like you when you once you start that journey, it will never end. So I'm really aware of it right now, and I'm really aware of the signals when I'm not feeling well or things like that. But also like about emotions because that is also something that I there is like culture or maybe my generation as well in the Basque country and in Spain. I don't know, like talking about like the way you are feeling and emotions and everything. It's not something that I had a lot like growing up.
Mm-hmm.
And while I went to therapy and everything, it's just something I learned a lot about like recognizing like the way I feel, sharing it, putting it into words. That was really difficult because you
Mm-hmm.
can feel certain things, but you don't even can put words to that. You cannot
Mm-hmm.
even describe it, and I can do that now really, really well compared to what I used to do. I could do it better, of course, but like compared to what I used to do like 4 years ago, it's like a lot different. And sharing it, and not feeling like ashamed about like I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling angry, I'm not feeling well, and then sharing it
Mm-hmm.
without like sort of if I'm feeling angry. It's not like I'm just saying to someone, "Oh, you did this or that," and I feel really angry. I'm not putting those like that feeling into someone else, but it's just this is the way I feel, and maybe we can do something about it, something like that. I don't know. It's really like aware of my own feelings. That is like,
Mm-hmm.
and I really, really like it. And if
Mm-hmm.
I feel sad or something, because I still feel really sad some days. Oops,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter. I just feel sad and I cry and everything, and that is perfectly fine. I don't try to
Mm-hmm.
hide it or anything. I'm not hiding when I'm smiling, so I'm not hiding when I'm feeling sad either.
Yes, yes. Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you all like learned that or embodied that in 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started it. I think I can get a lot better for sure, but it is like at least something that now I am aware of. So I try to, I don't know, to just like feel everything.
I know. But
If I
when I
feel
hear
sad, I
you
feel
talking,
sad.
yes, I know. But
Fine.
when I hear you talking, it comes off so natural,
Yeah.
as if you have been like this like your whole life.
No,
And
like not at all. Like zero. Not at all. If you've seen me like 5 years ago, completely different. Really completely different.
seriously.
Yeah. So you can
Well,
really learn, I think.
I know,
Everyone
but
can really
yeah,
learn.
of
If I
course we
did.
can. Yes, we can learn a lot, of
Yeah.
course. But I also believe that you have been this person all along. Well,
Could
that's
be.
actually how I think about human beings,
Hmm.
right? Like you're born, and you're born with innate qualities and characteristics,
Hmm.
and when you are born in that environment that stimulates you, and gives you the space to be exactly how you are born, then yeah, you will feel that way and feel very well about your emotions and show them right in that environment. But if that environment was lacking, then yeah, you come along in life, yeah, based on these survival mechanisms,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yes, and these, of course, keep you up and running. They help you to choose for the study that you've done, and then you live your life. And yeah, but I think these periods, in life when you crash, they are so meaningful because actually they bring you back to the person you have always been.
Yeah.
And but now you are able to give words to that, right? Because you created the environment in which you are doing that and
Exactly.
communicating
Exactly.
from your emotions. Yeah, well, it's very natural, amazing. I cannot
But I
picture
think
you
it's like
not
what
doing
you're
that.
saying. It's like what you're saying. I think it's like maybe something that I don't know. It's like no one really teach me when I was a kid, maybe how to cope with certain emotions. Because I think with happiness and with beautiful things, it's like easy. But then with like scary things in life, like when someone dies and cry, and I'm feeling that and talking about it, like really dark things in life. I didn't had a lot of that because
Hmm.
it's like sometimes your parents they are trying to hide all those things because they could make you sad, or maybe you're a kid and you're not gonna understand anything. But then I never learned
Hmm.
how to cope with those uh,
Yes.
darker emotions.
Hmm.
But that doesn't mean they're not right or wrong. We have to learn how to cope with everything and
Hmm.
not hiding them.
Hmm.
So it's like I don't know. If I had learned that when I was a kid, it would have been better. But it's fine. I mean, at least I learned
Yes.
now.
Yeah, of course, and that's fine. And it has given you so many more opportunities, right?
Yeah,
Because now you're living as an entrepreneur, uh, from your roots and cook studio, and
exactly.
also still developing recipes and putting them up on your website. And yeah, that's actually the gift that was given to you, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So how do you feel about that? Because now you're entrepreneuring, right? You're
I
discovering new
still feel
projects.
scared
It's still
a
scary.
lot because it's like this journey is like it will never end. And what you were saying about like it's something about like playing. You start like playing with like food and you start like exploring like different things. And I'm still doing that because I started giving like cooking workshops a few months ago. That was also like a moment that I wanted to play with it. It
Mm.
was something that idea that I had in mind, and it was scary, like crazy scary. And I didn't do that earlier because it was like, or it's not like the perfect place, or it's not maybe who is gonna like my recipes. Yeah, like I don't know, like all kind of crazy thoughts in your mind. And then at some point, it was like, if I don't do it now, I'm just gonna regret it the rest of my life. And then I'm just gonna do it one cooking workshop, just
Yes.
one, and let's see how that goes, and let's see how that goes for other people, but also like how I feel about it, because it's like
Hmm.
50-50.
Hmm.
50% is like how other people, if they are going to enjoy it or not, because if it's like if they don't like it, okay, fine, then you don't go, you don't play
Hmm.
with that anymore, with that project anymore. But also the other 50% is like how I feel about it. If it is something that brings me, because it is a lot of work, but does it bring me joy? Do I
Mm-hmm.
like it?
Mm-hmm.
Do I shine doing that? Or
Yes.
how do I feel afterwards? So it was like, I have to try that once. And I
Yes.
did it.
Great.
And it was like, it was a lot of work. It was scary. I was exhausted afterwards, but I was so happy. So happy. I was like, oh, I was so excited doing it. I couldn't sleep the day after. I was so happy. It was so many emotions. It was just like so nice that I couldn't even sleep afterwards because
I
it was like
understand.
so much of like
Yeah.
stress, but also good. Really, a lot of good. So I couldn't even sleep afterwards.
That's wonderful. Like the
Yeah.
combination of being exhausted and
Of
feeling.
happiness, and I don't
Oh,
know. Yeah,
yeah.
it's
Yeah,
so
being
weird.
exhausted of happiness.
Yeah, yeah. Because it was so
Fantastic.
funny. Because while I was giving that first workshop, it was like still a lot to figure out and everything. And I planned everything, but then it was like, it was a lot of things. It was like 8 people, and I was going from one person to the other, helping everyone, cooking and everything. So I was literally running everywhere. So that like for 3 hours. And it was like a lot. It was crazy. But even then, I was like happy. And every time I was like walking to a new person, helping them cook, I was smiling and I
Yeah.
was really happy. And I remember like one person at the end of the workshop, she said that it was like everyone was like calling you to ask for help, but every time you were coming to one of each of us, you were smiling and you were helping and you were happy. You
Mm-hmm.
were not stressed. And that was like something that made me think. It
Great.
was like, that is not the way I was when I was working corporate. I
Mm.
was really not this person at all.
Mm.
So it was like, wow, this is also different. This is also a
Yes.
lot of stress, but I'm okay with that. I'm happy with that.
Great.
So
Yes.
it's like something that makes you think as well.
Yeah. So, how much happiness can one person
Yeah,
feel?
a lot.
A lot. Yes, a lot. Yeah, but that's the crazy thing about mental, emotional, and physical recovery, because when people get into that phase, they are scared. Like most of the time, they feel angry, sad, and scared
Yeah,
about life. And then it's very difficult to feel happiness, right? Because
it is.
um, parallel to that, if you want to recover, that's what I've noticed in like the um, trajectories that I do with clients, is that when they do something nice and fun for themselves, it's like coming out of self-love and self-compassion. It's kind of difficult to receive it in your
Yeah,
system, right? Like, okay, I deserve this. I've deserved fully this feeling of calmness and happiness and joy in my life. So they get scared, they get scared
yeah,
of that feeling. So they get scared of all of these positive
yeah,
emotions. So it's also a learning process to be able to receive so much happiness.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. I remember like really at the beginning because at the beginning it was nothing makes you happy, nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Even like for me, it would be like an example would be gardening, like going to my garden and to have like taking care of tomatoes and having like flowers and everything. That was something that would make me really, really happy, like
Mm-hmm.
years ago. And I remember like while I was going through therapy, my psychologist was telling me like, you need to go back to the garden. You need to do like things that would make you happy. And I was going there and I was forcing myself to go there because it was
Mm-hmm.
not giving me any joy. And that was scary, eh? Because
Mm-hmm.
it's like this is something that would give me a lot of joy before, and now doesn't
Mm-hmm.
give me any joy. And it was scary because it's like, is this gonna give me any joy at some
Mm-hmm.
point again or not?
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like tiny, tiny, tiny little baby steps at a time.
Yes, yes. And how
And you
did
will
you
get through.
continue? Like your psychologist motivated you to go and do that?
You have to go.
Yeah, so
You have
so
to
it
like
was.
shut up like that
I know.
crazy person who is talking in your head and just do it.
I know. So it was like a task. Like
Yeah,
how it started out, it was like the
a
task that
homework.
was. Yes, up until like maybe that feeling of calmness or joy
Yeah.
just ripples through all of the activities. Like, okay, now I feel the sunshine on my face, for example,
Exactly. At the
right?
beginning, you don't even feel the sunshine in your face. Or
Mm-hmm.
then I really, really love like here in the Netherlands we have a lot of flowers on the street, and just smelling the flowers, I'm like a little doggy, like smelling all the flowers everywhere. I hated that. But it's like for me, it's like you cannot do like everything that gave you joy before. You cannot do everything at the same time. You have to pick
No, that's
one
right.
thing, and maybe force yourself to do that. Going out and have a little walk and smell one flower once
Mm-hmm.
a week, or once
Yes.
every one little thing, because that one little thing is it feels a lot already at the
Mm-hmm.
beginning, and
Yes.
then next week you do it twice, and then little by little,
Mm-hmm.
really tiny, little by little. And there is
Yes.
no like a time frame or anything. For me, it took me maybe like a year. For other people, would take them 3 months or 4 years. I think like everyone, we all have like a different, yeah, like a time frame, like a different timing to do things and to recover. And there's not like quicker or slower. It's like we all are different.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, like I mentioned before, people can have all of these physical symptoms and ignoring them and just continue life.
Yeah,
But also that counts for the recovery process as well. Like some people need more time to get fully recovered and
yeah,
get busy again. Start doing things again that they enjoy. But the crucial factor is to do it slowly, right? To just
yeah.
several things, like pick one thing at a time and then slowly build that up. Yes,
Exactly,
that's right.
exactly. And at the beginning, it looks like really difficult. I mean, I had a feeling like a couple of times, like I don't think I'm gonna get better. It's
Mm-hmm.
like because you're in a really, really bad position that is just like I don't know. At the beginning, it's like you think like I'm not gonna get better, but you
Mm-hmm.
do. Even the steps are really, really tiny,
Yes.
but you're taking steps every single day.
Yes, that's right. And what you mentioned was also that it's a continuous process. Like
Yeah,
you are now still building your business and having fun with that, but still on a daily basis, you are aware of, how you think, how you feel, what you do, and how do you deal with that? Like, do you sometimes like have mini crashes or mini
uh,
meltdowns and then just come back more quickly?
yeah, I do. So it was like for me, it's like now I'm aware of my mental health. I'm really aware of it. And I know like how wrong that could go if I don't take care of it. So for example, like I had it actually like this August, I've been like working like crazy, like promoting the cooking workshops and giving cooking workshops and everything. And it's still like something quite new. I mean, I've been doing it for a few months, but it's still quite new. It doesn't even have a year yet. So it's still like a lot of things that I have to figure out and a lot of promotions and everything. So it was like a lot of work. This
Mhm.
August was like crazy. And I think I went a tiny little bit like too much on that.
Mhm.
And last week, uh, it was like I started like feeling not okay, like
Mm.
physically, like feeling like a little bit like you start feeling like your mind is a little bit like foggy. So you kind of
Mm.
really focus. And I was feeling a little bit like tired, but a little bit like when you have like a little bit of fever, a
Mhm.
tiny little bit of fever that you feel like your body is a little bit like heavy,
Mhm.
like that feeling. For me, that is my physical symptoms.
Yes.
So I started feeling like I had like a little bit of fever, but I didn't have it. So that is the moment that I'm like and really foggy in my mind, and that is like, hoo, stop it now.
Yes.
And I had that last week because it's like I'm taking my vacation this week,
Mm.
actually, like
Mhm.
later this week. So I didn't stop till now. So it was like, oh, I'm gonna go on vacation. So you just want to finish a lot of things before you go on vacation and finish this and do this and this meeting and this networking. And I wanted to do too many things. But
Yes.
then it's like you started getting that. I started like getting those little signals.
And you did you recognize it immediately and did you stop immediately?
Yeah, yeah. So it was like I had that last Wednesday and Thursday. It was maybe even more. So
Mm.
I was having like a meeting. I came back home and I was like, stop it. And I was like, okay, take my agenda, like things I can really like cross and say like I will do that later. I will just don't do it. So yeah, I mean, there are certain things for my business that I still have to do. Other
Mhm.
things they can wait. They can really wait. So you start like pushing things like, okay, I will do this like maybe later on during the year. So I started like removing things from my agenda and really have
Great.
like really erasing things. I was gonna have a meeting last Thursday, and I was like, okay, I'm not gonna go to this one, but I can maybe do this one on Friday if I feel okay. If not, not. And even I had like a little networking event on Friday that it was gonna be 4 hours. I went there. I didn't do a lot of things during the day, so it was like I'm gonna take it really, really, really easy. And then if I feel okay, I'm just gonna go there. And I went there, but instead of going there for 4 hours, I just went there for 2 hours, and then I came back home.
Yes,
And then
fantastic.
weekend it was like taking it super easy. And then today, I mean, this is like okay. And then it's like I removed like a lot of things from my agenda until we go on vacation because I needed it. So it's
Yes.
like if mentally I'm not okay, nothing is gonna work. So
Oh, well, that's a good strategy that you've used. Yes, to get clearer about your agenda,
yeah,
and it immediately creates space within yourself, right?
exactly.
To rest, to be able
Exactly.
to rest.
Exactly. But
Yes.
everything, it's like for me, it's like I'm always like planning things and doing like things. So it's like even thinking about like planning like our like household things, right? So planning even like the menu of like this week and thinking about, oh, we have to eat this because we have this in the fridge and things like that. Those things are taking like mental effort.
Space. Yes, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're
And
using your
exactly. And
capability.
when you're like reaching to a point where you don't really have a lot of like mental space anymore, those little things you really start like feeling them, feeling like there's something big. And that is like the moment like I'm like, okay, I'm just really gonna stop. And if we have to eat like outside for a couple of days and we need to go to a restaurant for a couple of days, we do that because I really cannot think about anything else. And it's like if I recognize those signals like really, really quick, then I'm like, if I really stop for a couple of days, then it's really fine. And now I'm really fine.
That's
But
right.
it's like I really learned to recognize those signals like a lot earlier now, a lot earlier.
Yes.
Because before, as you said, I would be just pushing through it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's fine. I would just rest for the weekend. And then Monday, up again.
That's
And you
right.
keep going. And then you don't really recover at
Yes.
all.
I wanted to add to what you just shared about typical daily activities that also take up mental space, and that you're using your mental capacity to do those things, even though it's not related to your work or projects, business projects. There's a metaphor that I've heard from a client, and she said, I'm still recovering, so on a typical day, I have the availability of 10 spoons, and every spoon stands for an activity, like the simplest. 1 spoon for brushing my teeth, 2nd spoon for getting up and dressed, or 3rd spoon to shower, 4th spoon to check my emails, and if I've used all of my spoons on one day, I'm done. And I just want to be, grateful for what I was able to do on this day. And then, later in that process of recovery, you can think of, okay, this spoon stands for 2 hours of working, for example. You can be creative with that and just
Exactly.
give yourself the space, to rest from a day full of spoons.
But if you don't rest enough, then the next morning you will just have 2 spoons to use instead of
Yes,
10.
that's right. So you can think
And
about that as well.
that is like the thing. If you
Yes,
use like more, next morning you will have 2, and then next morning you will have 1, and then next one you're gonna crush.
that's right. Yes. Yeah. So that's something to be aware of, even
Yeah,
with the spoons metaphor. But the spoons
exactly.
metaphor is fantastic.
I really like it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, Enara, I wanted to get back to that feeling of enthusiasm and happiness that you described after having done that first workshop, right?
Yeah.
What I can say about that is I recognize it fully, because years ago I started these lives, and I was super scared. Before going live, I was nervous. I had to pee a lot before I went live. I had to go through my talking points. So, and I can share with you from experience that the more often you organize it and do it, the more capable you will be to, you know, feel fully these emotions, and even be able to sleep afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, I went through it and I think, oh my God, like with every scary project that you want to start, because something within us, you know, just feels drawn to that, you know, to, I don't know, to develop that part of us, or because you're curious, or because you just want to expand your business. And yeah, I think just with every time that you do it, it's like, okay, great, it will be better, you know, and it will
Yeah,
be easier.
definitely.
It will be easier.
It will be easier. Exactly. That's a feeling that I have already.
Yes.
Like the building up of the workshop and the like everything it goes like a lot smoother. But I'm enjoying them a lot
Yes.
more. I really have a lot more time to chat with everyone. And I don't know, it's like every time I do a workshop, it's like getting better and better and better. But not
Yes.
just the workshop itself, but also like the way I feel.
Of course. Yes,
Exactly.
and that's your basis, right?
Yeah,
The way you
exactly.
feel. Yes, fantastic. Well, we're going to go and finish this energy talk for today. And I wanted to ask you if you have like one more thing that you would like to share from all of the topics that we've talked about, and insights that we've shared. Like, do you have one more, I don't know, tip or something that you want to repeat, you know, like, okay, come on, let's do this for your mental health and for your transformation process, and be
I
happy
think it
again.
will be for me, which was like the scary thing is like something that you like an idea that I have in mind, try it at least once. Don't make it too big. Don't think about like the big picture, because I still want to have my own cooking studio and my own place and everything. That will happen, but I'm not thinking about that at the moment. I can just rent space,
Hmm.
but that is fine. But try things at least once. Don't make them too big. Keep them small and simple, and it can be from smelling like a rose, or going to the garden, or
Yes.
taking like a little walk because you're not leaving maybe your house. Try like taking a little walk. Try it once. Don't think about like I have to run a marathon. Just do
Hmm.
something tiny, small once. Try it
Yes.
once.
Yes,
I think that
that's
was like the thing that really helped me a lot, and it
that's
still helps
amazing.
me a lot.
Yeah, it's
Don't make
still,
it too
yeah.
big. Just try one tiny thing, just once,
Yes,
and I will see how that goes.
I know. Yeah, that's amazing. That's one that's a mindset, right? It's a
Yeah.
mindset to start tiny and
Sometimes
just
we
see
make
how
some
it
things like
develops.
way too big, and
Hmm.
we get scared, of course, because we are thinking about the big picture. But don't think about a big one. Think about something tiny and just do it
Yes,
once. That's it.
great. Thank you, Enara, for this energy talk. I've enjoyed it very much. I've learned a lot from you, and yeah, let's just continue talking in other ways as well. But for now, thank you so much for your presence.
Thank you. You made it like super easy, so I'm grateful. Thank you.
And see you again. Bye bye.
Bye bye.